Jake was a godsend for us last year. I mean, he came in, he was somebody that people were unsure of, you know, like he left Iowa, he was able to be a transfer within conference, come in, and he was a pro. And I don't think going into it, or after the Utah game, that necessarily we thought he'd be drafted, right? But the way he handled it, the way he came back from adversity, and the way he his incredible professionalism and intelligence really skyrocketed us, you know, offensively, because he didn't make many mistakes.
How are you seeing in that particular quarterbacks today some of those same effective? Are you seeing professionalism? Are you seeing consistency? Are you seeing that commitment?
Oh yeah, they've learned that there's now a standard in the room, right? I mean, year one, you try to set it, you know, you try to find a standard, and now the standard's been set. You know, the way you handle yourself, where you sit in the room if you're the starting quarterback, what type of give and take, what type of communication, what type of preparation, how you speak to your teammates, how you handle yourself in meeting rooms. Jake said it now. So now the bar is here, and now I don't raise the bar.
How similar are Oakhorn and Wilson? I mean, the players seem to think that there's not much drop-off between the two.
Yeah, there wasn't much drop-off in the spring, yeah, in terms of evaluating these guys. I mean, it was, Wilton, John, you know, and then the spring game, which was the best reflection because they were both live, right? They were all live, but the quarterbacks, you know, you had to get tackled. So if you could make a guy miss in practice, you never know it. But in a game, I think they both percentages-wise was very high. They both moved the football. They both scored. We had a chance to a 2-point play at the end. So it was fun, you know. So I think they're clearly right next to one another.
Shane's saying this summer that you can call those guys regularly and quiz them on things. What were those conversations like? What were you trying to get out of them?
Well, you know, I think that what we've done is throughout the summer, the spring, you know, they have to stay engaged, right, in what's going on in football and what's going on in life. I don't ever want to be in a situation as a coach where on April 2 you say bye and then on August 8th you reintroduce yourself, right? But based on the NCAA rules and the way things work, most of your conversations really go to the State of the Union. How's everything going? What's happening? What are you guys doing? Are you know, how are you doing in school? How are you doing in class? And then when there were certain times or certain blocks that we were able to have a football discussion or whatnot, then that was great also. But those guys had to really do a lot of their own work and really challenge them before we broke on who's going to make the biggest stretch.
Were you able to keep tabs on how they're, like, I know Jim was saying we're going to see what happens in August. I'm not really, you know, are you going to be totally shocked by what shows up at camp tomorrow, or you have a good idea of where those guys have grown this summer?
I have a great idea on how they've grown in the weight room, where they are athletically in terms of speed, size, strength. But I don't have a great idea right now how they're going to be on the field as a thrower. I would assume that they're better than they were. And if they're not, then they didn't work as hard as they need to.
Talk about this group of receivers. We obviously know who the top two are, but how does a guy like Grant Perry fit into the passing game scheme this season?
Well, thank you, Jeff, for asking that question about the wide receivers. I mean, all this question about quarterbacks all the time. We got pretty good receivers around here, you know? I think that we're really excited about J.U. and Amora. I think going into last year at this time, we didn't have many conversations about J.U. I think he was coming off a 13-catch, 1 touchdown or 0 touchdown season. And the way he evolved and the way he developed and how hard he worked and what he ended up doing for our program on special teams, on offense, running the football, on some reverses and sweeps, and as a leader, unbelievable. Then you got Amara Darboh, who even had more production, right? He had more catches than J.U. had, and more yards, and some less touchdowns, but he's had a great offseason, incredible offseason, and he had all spring to retake the lead as the #1 guy as J.U. is recovering from injury. And then Grant Perry, his development from Utah to Florida, the bowl game, I think all of us were really happy, you know, really, really happy with that.